Hey everybody, this is Joe with J Blake Photo. Thanks for stopping by my channel and welcome to another video. Now I'm back from my trip to Maui, and as you can see, I've got some of the photos posted here in my office. Super excited to have those printed and up on my walls. You know, one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever heard is to make sure that you print your photos, that you're not just looking at them on the screens, on the computer, on the phone, on the television, but that you're actually working with them in print, that you've actually got them in your hands, give you a better appreciation of the work that you're doing. I was a little down on some of the photos that I had taken until I saw them blown up in super high resolution, and I was able to frame them and put them up on my walls. Very excited for that. So whenever possible, if you have the space, print your work and put it on the walls. Even if you don't really like one of your photos or you're not sure about it, print it anyway. Sometimes they look just different when they're sitting in your hands. If you haven't had a chance to actually watch any of the vlogs that I posted, there's a ton of drone footage, B-roll, awesome photography. There's just some great stuff in there. I'm really proud of the shots that I got. I'm proud of a lot of the video that I got. Honestly, you can't go wrong in Hawaii. It's just amazing. So check those out. I'll link those somewhere so that you can take a look at them, or below, I don't know, somewhere. So before I get into today's video, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, you need to do that. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'll wait. Yeah. Okay, you subscribed? Okay, good. So now hit the bell next to the subscribe button. Now the reason for that is so that when I post new videos, which aren't all the time, I'm not gonna hound you, you'll actually get to see a notification for those, and you'll get to know when I've posted a new video. It just lets you know what's going on, and you can see new stuff as it comes out. Also, if you like this video at the end, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That kind of does stuff with the algorithm, shows it to other people that might be interested in the things that we're going to be talking about today. So back on the mainland, took the MacBook, the 2015 MacBook with me, did all of my editing on the MacBook. I know in some of my earlier videos, I've been doing a lot of editing on the iPad. I really wanted to take this new 2015 MacBook Pro through its paces. Now, you might be saying to yourself, 2015 MacBook Pro that's new? And kind of scratching your head. If you haven't seen my video about why I bought a 2015 MacBook Pro in 2018, again, link, go ahead and click that because you're gonna wanna watch that video. I apologize for the audio in the beginning of it. I guess I had some leveling issues, sorry. Okay. So on to the topic at hand. So I've got a 2015 MacBook. I've actually got it, you can kind of see right here, I've got it running on target display mode with my old 2011 iMac. Remember the old 2011 iMac that I upgraded with the SSD and maxed out the RAM? This thing has been running great. It still runs great. I'm going to be using it probably as like a home server. It can't work on 4K footage that comes out of the drone as well. And also I really needed something portable, which is why I went for the 2015 MacBook Pro. I've actually got it set up right here, and it's running the screen here. This is all being run off of the MacBook Pro. And I am running the Mojave Beta right now. It's running perfectly fine. I've had no problems whatsoever. Okay, so it's 2018, and Apple has just released the new late 2018 MacBook Pros. They released an updated 13-inch model and an updated 15-inch model with some really great, kind of crazy specs. So let's talk about that for just a second. So first things first, what I think a lot of people call the MacBook Escape or the MacBook Pro Escape, that's the MacBook Pro 13-inch without the touch bar. That unit, that device, remains unchanged. So there's no change in that device. It's still running the 7th generation core processors, no change to any of the internals, none of the spec bump stuff that you got with the other devices. So all of your upgrades, all the new things that are related to this new MacBook refresh are all in the 2018 models. So I want to walk through the top end versions of the 13 and 15 inch, and then I want to talk to you a little bit about why I'm still happy that I've got the 15 inch from 2015. Okay, so here we are on the Apple website. We're looking at the MacBook Pro, and right now I'm looking at the 13-inch. So you've got the 13-inch right here on the left without the touch bar. Again, not going to really talk about that because It's not really changed. I have no interest in that product. Really, considering a lot of the specifications on it, I'm not really sure a lot of professionals would be. So I want to look at the 13-inch with the touch bar with the integrated Touch ID sensor. So number one, you can see the starting price points, $17.99 and $19.99. So those are for the two different models that you can kind of start with. That's really expensive for a 13-inch laptop, even with some of the specifications that this laptop has. For me, I'm a bigger guy. I don't have the best eyesight in the world. And you know, I used the MacBook Air for quite some time. I don't know that I could go back to having a 13-inch screen be my daily driver. But that doesn't mean it's a bad laptop. For people who are looking for ultra portability, you're looking for just the best possible product in the smallest package, the 13-inch is probably going to do you really well. And the screen is gorgeous, especially now that it has the new True Tone technology, so which I love on the iPhone 10. It's amazing. Okay, so we're talking $17.99, we're talking $19.99 for a 13-inch screen. Now it's got a 2560 by 1600 resolution. That's the Retina equivalent of 1280 by 800. So if you've ever used the older MacBooks, 1280 by 800 is kind of the amount of space that you're going to get on your screen. The MacBook Air, for comparison, is 1440 by 900. Now it's not Retina, but it's 1440 by 900, and if that was in a full Retina model, that would be 2880 by 1800, which is the resolution of the 17-inch MacBook Pro with Retina display. Okay, so it's got the 500 nits of brightness, the wide color gamut, True Tone technology, gorgeous screen. We kind of talked about that. The base model at $17.99 comes with a 256 gig SSD. Something to be said about this SSD. From what I understand, in addition to it being the fastest SSD out there, not just because of the SSD, but because of the controller chip that they're using for it. Some of that controller chip, I believe, is on the processor, but they've actually offloaded some of the control into the new T2 chip, which is the custom, A-based silicon that Apple's been developing for the iPhone and the iPad that they're now putting into their Mac products. So it's basically like a tiny little iOS chip. It also runs the Touch Bar. It also includes the secure enclave for Touch ID. The base model only comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM, comes with the Intel Iris Plus graphics. Now this is an upgrade from the previous model. This is the 655, which from what I understand is considerably improved in terms of shaders and just how much horsepower it is. I think it's also a slight improvement in frequency. Okay, we've got the 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. So remember, the thing about the MacBook Pro, whether it's the 13-inch or the 15-inch, is all it has are these Thunderbolt ports. So they are Thunderbolt 3, which means that they are the same shape and design as a USB-C port, and they will do USB-C. Not all devices that are USB-C are Thunderbolt, not all Thunderbolt devices are USB-C, but you can switch and change based on what you need. There's some great external adapters for this stuff, and the Thunderbolt and USB 3 Gen 2 are incredibly fast. You can see here we've got Thunderbolt speeds up to 40 gigabits per second rather, and we've got USB 3.1 Gen 2 at up to 10 gigabits. So that's very, very fast. But again, remember, those are your 4 ports. One of them you're going to need to charge with. So if you're used to the previous model of the MacBook Pro, where you had 2 USB-A ports, you had 2 Thunderbolt 2 ports, an HDMI port, an SD card reader, and your charging port, right, your MagSafe, you don't have any of those anymore. You have these 4 ports. You just still have the microphone port though, and you have the headphone jack. Okay, so the infamous trackpad and keyboard. So this trackpad is gigantic. It's the same size as the 2016 and 2017 model. What is not the same is the keyboard. So the keyboard on this model, the 13-inch and the 15-inch, have the new improved, this is the 3rd generation version of this particular keyboard. It has the super slim keys with the low throw, but for this particular model to improve in some of the, I guess, dust collection issues that they were having where keyboards were going out and not working at all because you'd get just, like a grain of sand in the keyboard. That is hopefully helped by this new silicone barrier that iFixit found deep inside this keyboard. Hopefully this improves the reliability of this keyboard a little bit. Okay, so scrolling down here, it's got 802.11 AC, regular stuff. Bluetooth 5, which is nice. A 720p FaceTime camera. I mean, really? We can't put a 4K camera on the front of this screen? We can't even put a 1080p camera or something, a 2K camera on the front of this screen? I know a lot of people don't use their webcams that are built into their computers for stuff, but man, that really would be nice. Okay, so I think we've talked mostly about where this thing is. Now, you will notice also that it has still the 10 hours of battery life if you're surfing the web. It does have a slightly larger battery to account for the more powerful processor. But okay, before we move on to the 15-inch model, I just want to clarify here. We're talking about a base model that is $1799 that has a Core i5 processor in it. So the Core i5, if you don't know, is the 4-core mobile part that does not do hyper-threading. So it's 4 cores, 4 threads. Okay, so for every core, it does one thing at a time. There's nothing wrong with that. My iMac has a 4-core i5, and this is the new 8th generation Core i5. The turbo boosts up to 3.8 gigahertz, and its normal speed is 2.3 gigahertz. I'm not going to talk about throttling in this video because from what I understand, Apple's update has really fixed that problem. We're just going to stick with the specs that we have here on the screen. Okay, so we got our 13-inch touch bar model, $1799 and $1999 with the Core i5 and the Core i7 with the 256 and the 512 gigabytes. So I know I said I was going to wait until the end to compare this to my 2015 MacBook Pro, but just in terms of the specs that you're getting, for one, my MacBook Pro, which is the base model of the 15-inch MacBook Pro, came with the 15-inch screen with the 2880 by 1800 resolution screen. It's got the 256 gig SSD, notably not as fast as this one, but still very quick. 16 gigabytes of RAM, and the built-in Iris graphics. And I bought that one for $1,300. It was brand new out of the box with AppleCare. So just as a comparison. Now, I know that spec for spec, this 8th generation Intel Core i7 or i5 processor is probably going to blow my machine out of the water. But considering what I'm doing with it, the workload that I'm doing, the most important thing for me was portability and not having to drag around all the adapters to go into the USB-C ports, number one. Number two, I really didn't want to have to worry about getting sand in the keyboard. So far, I'm still very happy. Okay, so let's move on to the 15-inch model. I want to see what they did with this device. So now we've got a base model at $2399, and then we have a upgraded model at $2799. So let's go to the $2399 model and just kind of take a look. So the difference between those two, you see how up here it's got the $2399, $2799. They both come in silver or space gray. They both come with the standard 15.4-inch Retina display that does 2880 by 1800 native with 500 nits, wide color gamut, the True Tone technology, all the same stuff that you found in the 13-inch version. So now if we go to the processor, we're looking at the difference between a 2.2 and a 2.6 gigahertz base clock Core i7 processor. Comes with the Core i7 right off the shelf. So the $2399 unit comes with the 2.2 gigahertz processor. Here's where the big deal comes in terms of the shift between the 13-inch and the 15-inch. It comes with a 6-core Intel Core i7 processor. So Intel has upped their game a little bit in their mobile parts, and their new Core i7s come with 6-core. Not just 6-core, but 6-core 12-thread. These particular devices have turbo boost and hyper-threading, so they'll be able to do actually twice as many instructions per clock as a unit that doesn't have hyper-threading. And turbo boost up to 4.8 gigahertz. Again, I know it probably won't last 4.8 gigahertz too long. It's going to get really hot. The unit's going to throttle itself. Every laptop does that. That's not abnormal. And then the 256 gig SSD. From what I understand, this is the same SSD that you have in the 13-inch model. just in terms of its speed and capability. Now this one does come with 16 gigabytes of RAM, and once you get up to the 15-inch model, you get the discrete graphics, which is the Radeon Pro 555X. And the X means that they've slightly upclocked the processor in this model. From what I understand, it's just a small increase in the speed. You will see an improvement there, but it's not a huge increase. The big increase actually is going from 2 gigabytes of graphics RAM, the GDDR5, to 4 gigabytes of GDDR. That's actually going to be a pretty decent size bump for you. And then they also have the 560X in the upgraded model. The $2799 model comes with the 512 gig SSD, and then it comes with the upgraded discrete graphics. Also comes with the 16 gigabytes of RAM. So when you buy the additional 512 gigs and the faster processor, you automatically get the faster discrete graphics. Again, still just the 4 ports, same keyboard, but you do get the larger the larger screen. So this unit has an 83 watt-hour battery. Big battery in this device, almost as big as the battery in the 2015 MacBook Pro that I have. That one has a 99 watt-hour battery. This one does a really good job from what I understand with power management, and you should still be getting the same amount of work time out of this unit as you did out of the 2017 model. Okay, so if you're looking to upgrade a device, the question that I'm asking myself, and really you might be asking yourself this question, but really I'm just kind of looking at it for me, and I figured I'd bring you along for the ride, is would the 2018 MacBook Pro be an upgrade for what I'm doing right now over my 2015 MacBook Pro? Okay. So if I decided to do a pro and con list for this particular computer. Okay, so first things first. The price, $23.99. I'm going to put that in the con category because it's expensive. The display, I'm going to call that a wash. Even though it does have the increase in the color gamut and the brightness, as well as having True Tone technology, it's the same resolution. It's still basically a 1440 by 900 display doubled. They haven't done anything really insane with the displays on the MacBook Pro since the original MacBook Pro Retina came out in 2012. I would be really excited to see a 4K display with 120 hertz with the 500 nits and the wide color gamut to be able to do 4K HDR. If that was something that we were looking at here, I think that would be a significant bump up. I think that's the next direction that Apple needs to go. But right now, this is just a small increase over the display that I have now. This isn't really a big deal. Okay, so the processor. So the $23.99 model comes with a 2.2 gigahertz, 6-core Core i7. Now, my laptop, my 2015 MacBook Pro, the off-the-shelf model, the 15-inch, comes with a 2.2 gigahertz, 4-core Core i7. The difference, though, is that this model is the 8th gen and mine is the 4th gen. So each of those cores at the same speed, probably doing almost twice as much work. So then imagine that there's 50% more cores, so it's probably 300% faster, just in terms of its ability to do processor work. That's a lot of percent faster. So I'm going to put that in the Pro category. All right, so we're going to put CPU 6 cores in the Pro category. Okay, storage. It's 256 gigs. It does go all the way up to 4 terabytes if you want to spend $3,000. But I don't know. I'm going to call that a wash too. For what I'm doing, 4K video editing, you know, I'm not really doing a ton of stuff that requires a super blazing fast SSD. I'm not unhappy with the speed I have now. I'm not really sure that the I/O on any laptop is going to be fast enough to get stuff on and off as fast as this thing can move data. Next is the 16 gig memory. I'm going to call that a wash. My device came with a 16 gigs of memory, although it is the 1600 megahertz DDR3 instead of the 2400 megahertz DDR4. I do like that it's configurable up to 32 gigs though. I didn't mention that. That is an enhancement that comes with putting the new 8th gen Intel part in there. It does support DDR4, but if you look at the previous model, when it was running DDR3, it was the DDR3 low power, the LPDR. This one's running full DDR4, which takes about twice as much power, but that was the trade-off that Apple had to make to be able to get professionals to be able to order laptops over 32 gigabytes of RAM. So I'm going to call that a wash, right? Because mine comes with 16. So wash, okay, graphics. Honestly, this is a gigantic improvement over what I have. I'm running the stock Intel Iris graphics that comes with the 4th generation Intel Core i7 processor. So this one does come with the Intel Graphics 630. I think mine comes with something like the 410 or the 420. So this is a considerable improvement. So I'm going to put the graphics card definitely in the Pro column, especially considering the fact that you can go up to that 560X. This is still an AMD part, right? This is still a Radeon graphics part. I almost said ATI. ATI has not been around for a very long time, but way back in the day, I remember buying ATI video cards, the all-in-one Radeon, so good. But you know, going to that higher-end unit does give you that much better graphics card. It is really the best graphics card that you can get in a MacBook right now. Okay, so now I've got the CPU with 6 cores, the graphics card in the Pro column. Okay, we come down to charging and expansion. This is a big, in my opinion, big con. So I'm going to put ports down here on the con list, and here's why. I'm using nothing but SD cards. I'm using SD cards and micro SD cards. I'm pulling micro SD cards out of the GoPro, out of the Mavic, and I'm pulling the SD cards out of the Canon 60 Mark II that I'm shooting on right now. It has been so great to use SD cards with an SD reader built into my laptop. That has just been absolutely wonderful. So I don't know that I could get away from that. They really need to think about putting that back in here. The rest of the ports, I understand that USB-A and the Thunderbolt ports can all be taken care of with the new Thunderbolt ports, with some adapters and dongles and all that sort of stuff. I carry a lot of adapters and dongles and all that stuff with me anyway. I really don't want more. And honestly, I have a tendency to lose things, so I don't need any more of that. So I'm going to put ports down there in the con column. Okay, keyboard and trackpad. All right, so let me show you something. You see these sausages? I have giant hands. Not only do I have giant hands, but I type way too fast for what I should be doing for this size hands, and I make a lot of mistakes. Because honestly, I'm smashing at the keys. So normally I'm typing on a big Logitech full keyboard with lots of travel. I will from time to time use the Apple keyboard, and of course I do type on my MacBook Pro and my MacBook Air, and it's okay. Anything I think with less push, with less travel, would just be uncomfortable for me. And I really don't think that keyboard would work for me, number one. Number two, like I said, I don't want to get dirt or sand I came back from Maui and pretty much everything I owned was covered in sand. And I really don't want to have to worry about my laptop just no longer working. I don't want to worry about my space bar no longer spacing. It's really difficult to read words when they don't have spaces. So I wanted to make sure that was in my con list. So I'm going to put the keyboard down there. This pen is dead. Okay, so the rest of it. So audio, battery power, operating requirements, size and weight. The rest of that stuff, honestly, that's your mileage may vary on that. So here's what my list looks like. In the Pro column, I have 6 CPU cores and the graphics card. In the Con column, I've got the price, the ports, and the keyboard. So the question is, for $2,399, with the ports that are going to be a pain and a keyboard that I really wouldn't want to use, is the processor and the graphics card worth it? Now, I've done some benchmarks just to kind of look closely at what the differences would be, and it would probably shave, I don't know, probably 40 to 50% of time off of my renders for rendering videos like this, rendering my drone footage. But for me, honestly, it makes no sense. The real bummer, honestly, is that the 2015 MacBook, when they released this new version of the 2018, they stopped making it. They discontinued the thing. So I'll tell you this right now. If you can still get your hands on one at a discounted price like I did, I would. Throw AppleCare on that thing for 3 years, make sure that it lasts you, and just enjoy it. If you're shooting 4K footage or 1080p footage, or at 60 frames a second off of your iPhone, off of like a GH5, off a Sony A7, you're doing 1080p off the 6D or the T6 or any of the Canon cameras or any of the Nikon cameras, or maybe you're just you're shooting with your GoPro, or you're shooting with your Mavic or your Spark. Maybe you got the new Mavic Air. You're shooting 4K at 100 megabits a second. Honestly, you're going to do just fine with a slightly older MacBook Pro. If you don't have a problem with the ports and the keyboard, I would look really closely at the 2016 and 2017 models. See if you can't get a version of that that's maybe still in a box that you can still get AppleCare on. That's what I would do. If you're a professional working day to day doing nothing but video editing and development, you're not worried about this stuff, right? You're running around with either a custom built PC, or a Dell or something like that, or you're running the 5K iMac Pro or just a fully beefed up iMac. You're not going to be using the 2015 MacBook Pro. But honestly, from the looks of it, for people like myself, if you're doing vlogs, if you're editing drone footage, if you're working on the GoPro, I think this thing is still the way to go. I really do. I'm excited to see where they go with some of this technology. I'm glad that they're putting in the more advanced Intel chips. I know that there's been a lot of talk about the expense of the 15-inch. Because, I mean, look, right? We can go to the 15-inch. We can go over here to buy. We can say, all right, I want to buy a 15-inch MacBook Pro. I want to buy the high-end model that starts at $27.99. Let's configure this thing. So I'm going to add $300 to go from the 2.6 to the 2.9. Now, going from the 2.6 to the 2.9 isn't just an increase in frequency. You're also getting the additional, I think there's some additional L3 cache. There's more to the Core i9 than just it being faster. So we go to the Core i9, so it's another $300. I would go up to the 32 gigs of DDR4. I'd probably spring for the 1 terabyte SSD drive, but honestly, anything more than that, you're probably going to be hooking up to like a Drobo or some sort of an external Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt powered RAID array that's sitting on your desk or something. So now we're at $38.99. I think the $38.99 version of this MacBook is going to be the most common one purchased for high-end pros. Can you go all the way up to $66.99? Yeah, but that's just for the storage. That's the only thing that takes it from $38.99 to the almost $7,000. Most people are going to be grabbing the $17.99 13-inch for their first MacBook Pro or an upgrade for a previous MacBook Pro. If you're walking around with the first generation MacBook Pro Retina, the 2012 or 2013 model, this is probably where you want to be. But the 2015 model, honestly, I just think it really provides quite a bit for the cost, at least right now, if you can still get one. So I would grab one if you can. If you're vlogging, if you're doing YouTube, that's the direction that I would go. So I still think that the 2015 MacBook Pro, this 15-inch with the Core i7, is the best device, the best mobile computing platform for YouTube right now, paired with all your other bells and whistles, options, and devices. If you disagree, that's okay. I'd actually love to hear if you have this laptop or if maybe you've got the 2015 MacBook. Tell me what you're currently working with. I'd be really curious. Let me know if you're shooting with 4K footage or if you're doing 1080p. I mean, you know, we're not all MKBHD shooting 8K red in RAW, so there's only so much bandwidth and power that we actually need. And these laptops normally last between 3 and 5 years, and I feel like the current kind of 4K shooting technique is going to be pretty common for the next couple of years. And then maybe we'll move to 8K, but at that point we'll come to a whole new generation of devices. So let me know what you're shooting with. If you like videos like this, if you like looking at stuff like this, go ahead and hit the like button. It's that little thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Turn the little bell thingy on so you get a notification whenever I put up a new video and you can check it out. I love comments. I try and respond to every single comment I get. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram. I'll go ahead and put those down there so you can click on them. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks.